Hey, it's Jag. New toy day.
Yeah.
During my GGBO 2022 build, or at least where I've gotten so far, I made a lot of complaints about my crappy little 9-inch bandsaw. So I actually started about a year ago just squirreling away a little bit of money here and a little bit of money there in my bandsaw fund. When everything kind of went south last fall with the flood at the house and whatnot, I actually already had saved enough to get the bandsaw I want. You'll see it in a bit. But things just got crazy, and it's been crazy for about 6 or 8 months. So I just kind of hung on to that money, and I've got some time off today, and I figured time to go get that bandsaw. Winter wasn't particularly bad this year, but it was very long and cold enough that I really didn't want to work out in my shop anyway. I don't have any heat out there. That's my long way of saying I'm on my way to pick up my new bandsaw. With everything that's gone on over the last 6 or 8 months, I just kind of lost my motivation for working out in the wood shop. But things are on the upswing now. Things have balanced out, and the nice warm weather's coming, and I kind of started getting really excited about finishing the GGBO 2022 guitar and maybe even entering GGBO 2023 this year. Probably the community build, but I want to really plan it out before I say I'm going to do it for sure. Just because I really think the way I did it last year, I could have done a lot more efficiently. So I really want to get a plan for that. Todd Pretty.
Hi.
Drummer for One Soul Thrust, my brother.
And Bandsaw Swamper.
Bandsaw Swamper, yeah. I call him when I need stuff moved around. Hey, do you have a Sawzall?
I do have a Sawzall, Jag.
Can I borrow it? I'm going to cut that down.
Absolutely you can, Jag. Now, do we want to spin it? Or do we want to wait until it gets out of the car and then spin it?
Yeah, let's turn it up this way now.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. That was easy.
Yeah. We're here. We're committed.
Oh, that's heavy.
Yep.
I lied. The table isn't the heavy part. That box is the heavy. Well, happy days. First day back out in the wood shop, spring 2023. Finally warm enough to get out here. What better time to start putting the bandsaw together than today? I've got the instructions, some hand wheels, more hand wheels, and parts for the fence, the main clamp for the fence itself, rails. And in the box here, so we got the stand, blue. Nuts and bolts and knobs, and the bottom. Well, and the table, which is really heavy, so I'm not going to lift it until I'm ready to put it on the bandsaw, but I've got it down over here, and the bandsaw itself is over behind me. I'll change the camera angle when I start putting that together. Also got the wheel kit for it, a small shop, so I need to be able to move my stuff out of the way when I'm not using it. So it's the Rikon 10326, 1 3/4 horse motor, 110 volts. It's dual voltage, so can be wired for 230. It's wired for 110 right now, or 120. 14 amp, 1 phase. 111-inch blades, and blade widths 3/16 to 3/4 inch. Blade speed 1445 or 2,950 feet per minute. Table size 21.5 by 15 3/4. Table tilt goes from -7 degrees to 45 degrees. 2 miter gauge slots. Maximum cutting width 3 5/8. Maximum cutting depth 13 inches. Don't think I'll ever resaw anything that big. 3 or 4 inch fingerboard blank ought to be fine, which is mainly my consideration as far as resawing on this bandsaw. Table height is 40 3/8 inches. The fence height 6 inches, fence length is 18 3/4, 4-inch diameter dust port. Overall height 74.5 inches. Overall width and depth 34 1/4 by 25 3/16. 285 pounds, so pretty heavy. The base size is 24 by 17 5/16. So let's get to putting this together. Todd's suggestion was to leave the bandsaw itself in the box, put the base on it, and then stand it up. So I think that's what I'll do. Okay, we'll start with the assembly of the stand. So the first thing I need to do is attach the left side of the stand, that's the one with the pins for the door, onto the base. One thing I've learned in putting things together is never tighten up all the bolts as you go. Just get them all snug and tighten everything up once you get it together, because sometimes you need to jimmy stuff around to make it fit. Wipe the oil off. I think the last thing we want is some of this oil, protective oil, getting on our wood for our guitar and messing up our finishing. Okay, that's the side panels on. I have to put 2 of the hex bolts in here on the bottom, and then put a side beam in. Don't screw them in all the way so you can set that beam on. There's this little notch in the beam. I don't know if you can see that. There, I think you can see that. That goes this way. That's the bottom connecting beam on, so I'm going to tighten up the front bolts on the side panels and the connecting beams now, because they shouldn't move after this. The next thing is to install the side locking knob for the front panel of the base using a hex cap screw and a nylock nut. Not the easiest thing in the world to do in a little space like this when you got big sausage fingers like me. That's the knob installed. Little stiff. We'll leave it like that for now. We'll figure it out later if we need to loosen that up. 3 of the hex bolts into the back of the left and right side panels. These will be for securing the back panel and the shelves that go on the inside. Thread them in, but don't tighten them up until you get the panel and shelves on. So now we slide the back panel in over the bolts through these notches, and we only tighten the top. With the back panel on, I couldn't take that angle, so got this camera here, and hopefully I don't bump it while we're doing this either. Next thing is to install the middle shelf. Before we do that, we need to put 2 hex bolts with washers on the front middle of each of the sides. We set the panel on the bolts, put the top beam in place. Okay, just check that all the bolts are snug now. Now the door goes on the front. This would be so much easier if they'd make one of the pins just a hair longer so you could put one on and then the other. The way this is, you have to get them both lined up exactly at the right time. Get one and the other is off. There we go. And the door is on. The handle locking screw, bushing and nut for the lock. Hex head cap screw with a bushing just to offset it a bit. So that's the base put together. Now I'm going to mount the bandsaw to the base. There's 2 ways you can do that. You can set the base flat on the floor and have someone help you, and you can lift the bandsaw onto the top. Since I'm working alone, I'm going to do what Todd suggested. I've still got the bandsaw on its side, and I've got the base slide on its side, and I've got it propped up so I can get the 2 bolts on this side of the bandsaw in, and then we'll reach down and get the bottom ones in. Well, that took a serious amount of finagling to get this all lined up. I did that all off camera. I had a whole series of fulcrums and levers to lift everything up and get it lined up. But I've got the bandsaw bolted to the base now. Make no mistake, styrofoam is the devil's packaging. I got little styrofoam pills all over the shop. Before I try and stand this up, I'm going to put the front wheels for the wheel kit on now. I can just put the back under some blocks, put the back wheels on, and I'll be all done with that part of the job. The first thing to do is to install the front bracket for the front wheel using 2 bolts with washers. And there are already holes pre-drilled in the bottom of the bandsaw stand to screw this on. Well, that's the front bracket installed. Now I believe the next thing is to actually install the front wheel. So the front wheel is just fastened on with 3 shorter bolts and washers just through 3 holes drilled in here, and they match up to the mounting holes on the front bracket. And easy as that, the front wheel's on. The saw is pretty heavy, 285 pounds according to the specs in the manual. But picking it up from a lying position doesn't seem too bad. I gave it a little bit of a try, and I think I can stand this up on my own. Woohoo! Got it standing up. The blade is exposed, so you want to be careful while you're working on the saw right now. I think I should be okay while I'm putting the rear wheels on it. The wheels are really easy to install. It's just an axle, the 2 wheels, a couple cotter pins and washers, and you're done. Slide it through here. And there we go, the wheels are on. I can wheel the bandsaw around. It moves really smooth. I really like that kit on there. That was a good investment. So now that I have the saw standing up, I can finish assembling it. So the first thing I'm going to do now is to put the table on the trunnions. The table is really heavy. Not too heavy, I can't lift it myself, so I'm going to get it over here and put it on here. One of the things that I did kind of ahead of time, the trunnions were adjusted at about a 45-degree angle out of the box, and because I'm working on my own, I needed to set those levels so I can set the table on and then put the cap screws in to hold the table on. So I've actually installed the angle adjustment wheel. Doesn't really matter, but it comes later in the instructions. What you need to do is put the screws on the, this is the right side of the table, I'm on the opposite side obviously. You put those screws on and you just tighten them up snug, hand tight. You don't final tighten them until a little later because we have to do some adjustment of the table. But once those are on and snug enough that they can hold the table, we'll tilt the table to 45 degrees so we can put the bolts on the left side. Get this all lined up. There are the mounting bolts mounting the table to the trunnions. And there you can see those 2, that one back there and the one up front here. Table's mounted, fastened to the bandsaw. It's not fully tightened. I can still wiggle the table a bit. So we are going to check that the blade is parallel to the miter slots. We put a ruler against the blade, make sure it's not touching a tooth, which could push the ruler out and throw us off. And then we need to measure from the ruler to the miter slots at the front and back of the table. Okay, we need the back to go. A lot of finagling and finessing, but I've got this lined up so it's as parallel, at least as I can get it right now. Next thing is to install the 90-degree table stop. It's just a bolt that goes in a pre-threaded hole on the back of the, or on the bottom of the table. So they say that we'll adjust it for 90 degrees later in the setup, but I'm going to do it right now anyway. Get my tri-square and set this so the table's square to the blade. Okay, we have the positive stop for 90 degrees set. You can move this little stop out of the way, but when it goes under there, that's your positive stop for 90 degrees. So you can slide that out of the way and you can tilt the table back the other way a bit, 7 degrees. Well, next thing is to install the fence guide rail to the front of the table. And that's done using these 4 nuts and washers. So what we need to do is we need to have the bar parallel to the table. So we're going to adjust that, and it also needs to be the same distance out at the left side of the table as it is at the right side. So we need to adjust both of those things. So I'm going to get the distance first. A little shy of 1 7/8 on this side, and a little shy of 1 7/8 on this side. So we're good distance-wise out. So now to measure the height, 1 1/8, 1 1/8. I kind of lucked out, although it's probably due to good engineering. It's parallel to the table this way and this way. Okay, we've got that all tightened. I'm just going to double check that everything's still looking good. Just shy of 1 7/8. That's a little under 1 inch. Okay, we're looking good there on the rail. So next thing is to slide the fence carrier onto the rail. You slide the fence on, lock it in place. Now we install the rest of the hand wheels. As I said, I already installed this one here. So I just have the top and bottom hand wheels to install. So the hand wheel to raise and lower the blade guard. Looks like that's working pretty good. And the hand wheel for the motor drive belt tension. That's the bottom one here. And last, the blade tension hand wheel. It just sits in the top here. No tools or anything, a couple pins. We're getting pretty close to being done the assembly of the bandsaw. The next thing to install is just this little tool holder that they include for the hex wrenches for doing adjustments on the saw. And oddly enough, the only tool they don't include that you need for assembly here is a Phillips head screwdriver. This tool holder will attach to the rear of the column on these 2 holes at the back here. The next thing to install is the push stick hanger bolt. Just another little cap screw that goes in here. So push stick hangs in a nice handy spot. And there's a guidepost cap that just goes, snaps into a hole at the top here for the guidepost. And that's the assembly of the saw done. There is an indicator for your tilt that you can just, you can adjust the pointer using just a Phillips screwdriver so that our tilt is showing at 0 degrees because we're perfectly 90 to the blade right now. Well, that's the bandsaw assembled, everything installed. I've done the quick adjustments on it. I didn't really show any of that. This video is already getting a little long, and this is my first big boy bandsaw, so I've got a lot to learn in terms of setup and adjustment anyway. But what would an unboxing and setup of any piece of equipment be without testing it? So we're going to do just a little test cut and see how well it cuts and whether we have any drift or how well just my little quick eyeball setup worked on this. So just going to cut through one little stick. Keeping in mind my recent discovery of how damn allergic I am to pine dust, I need to definitely be wearing my PPE. nice and straight. There was no drift. If I put it on the table here, it sits flat where I cut. So very happy with this bandsaw, the Rikon 10326. So that's all the time I have today. First time kind of back out in the wood shop in about 5 or so months. It feels great to be back out here, and I'm really happy to have a good bandsaw. It's quite a mess out here. I got a lot of work to sort of clean up. I probably got some stuff I should just plain get rid of in here. It's feeling a little bit messy and a little crowded, so I'll be doing some of that over the next couple of weeks, and I will be getting back to finishing my GGBO 2022 guitar build. Like always, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, comment, give a thumbs up. That helps a lot. Check out my band One Soul Thrust. Links are below. Got some interesting things coming up with One Soul Thrust later this year. So stay tuned. I'll do some announcements about that. And until the next video, we'll see you.